When I was younger, I didn't particularly see people online who were doing what I was doing. There was no one talking about chasing your dreams, even when you're living with HIV, or what to do, how to overcome, how to be an HIV victor. There wasn't any of that. So I decided, you know what? I'm just simply going to be that person.
Nomonde, it's a pleasure to meet you.
I have to meet you too, man. So excited to chat with you.
Absolutely. So can you share your personal journey of living with HIV and what have been your triumphs and challenges?
Yeah. So living with HIV looks like this. It's like navigating a vast, stormy ocean with an unyielding spirit. And yet through all those challenges, you need to overcome, with resilience and an unwavering strength. And so you get to pair all of these with, grace and determination. And so obviously I've had my challenges here and there, stigmatization, but I've also had my little joys where my friends would hug me. In particular, the specific memory looks like this. In primary, I told a crew of my friends, and they decided, well, we are not going to eat with you anymore. As a matter of fact, we're not going to hug you. And I could have let that write my story. I could have made that the ending of my story, but I decided, you know what, I will give disclosure another try because I'm just lingering in expectation. And so when I got to high school, I told this amazing group of friends yet again, and they hugged me and they made me laugh and they didn't feel sorry for me. They just embraced me as I was. And so living with HIV, it's really just that. It's just finding yourself, and even the challenges and the lows you find yourself, and even in the triumphs, you get to meet yourself also for the very first time.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's really beautiful. So you've told me a little bit about some of the support you've had from your second group of friends.
Yeah.
But what other support systems have been helpful to you as a young person living with HIV in South Africa?
When I was young, it was really hard to connect with my family. It was hard to make them understand my feelings and not the statistics and the factual information that they knew, because they were like in HIV research and stuff. So it was really hard to connect with them like that. So I didn't have that. It was really also hard to connect with my HIV counselor because she was just like so much older and it was systemic. It was never, how are you really doing? You need to speak up about how you really feel because I know you're not being authentic. It was systemic. Do this, do that. Okay, have a good day kind of thing. It was really hard to connect with her. And so I can't say really that I had the support system, but I had literature. I knew how to write. And so my first representation of a support system was my friends. That's how and that's when I made support, and it really, really changed my life.
So Nomonde, you're using your creativity to tell your story as a young woman living with HIV through your TikTok videos. And you've even written a book about it.
Yeah.
I understand it's a collection of letters by young women living with HIV. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there's a book.
Oh, fantastic. Looks lovely.
The title is Heart to Heart.
Yeah.
My heart to your heart. These letters from girls I've never met. And we're just really joined by a single link campaign online where I urged the girls to write letters to other girls that were living with HIV. And you don't have to know that person. You don't have to have an experience. You just have to say something kind and compassionate because that's what we want and that's what girls living with HIV. And they're just trying to survive. We don't need them surviving, we need them thriving. So just to move them from survival to thriving, a compassionate society is what they need. And then we try to orchestrate that through this book. I always try to tell the girls that if something is bothering you, if living with HIV is just now becoming like so hard and you're depressed, do your favorite thing, right? And so I decided, if I share my poems, the poems that I wrote when I was still suffering, it would really encourage them that, even when there's suffering, there's beauty, and where there's suffering, where there's pain, there's also poetry and there's art and there's creativity. And those are all the things that HIV cannot take away from us. Your dreams, your passions, your talents. HIV cannot take that away from you. It's you before it's HIV. And so do it. Do the things that make HIV feel incapable of destroying your life.
So wonderfully put. So wonderfully put. So tell me a little bit about your TikTok journey, How did you get the courage to disclose and how did you start?
Yeah. When I was younger, I made a promise to myself that I was going to become the adult that I needed. Yeah. And so because when I was younger, I didn't particularly see people online who were doing what I was doing. There was no one talking about chasing your dreams, even when you're living with HIV, or what to do, how to overcome, how to be an HIV victor. There wasn't any of that. So I decided, you know what? I'm just simply going to be that person. I'm going to be her. And so I decided to do that one day. It was impulsive.
I'm living with HIV, so of course everyone thinks I lost weight because I'm HIV positive. I am living with HIV, and of course people think I should be depressed and grumpy and not take care of myself because I'm HIV positive.
Put a finger down if you struggle with consistently taking your HIV treatment. I have 3 tips for you to help you adhere to treatment. I also used to struggle with taking my pills consistently, but these 3 tips really helped me to ace my game.
Everyone asked me what were you thinking, what was the plan? There was no plan. It was really just impulsive, and then purposeful living began. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that just speaking up about things that I was suffering silently was going to, enthrall me this much. I didn't know that it was going to burn me this much. I didn't know that my passion and my purpose really centered around HIV and AIDS. So my TikTok space is merely that. It's a sentiment to other people out there, not just girls, but men as well, just to have conversations that matter, just to speak about things that silently eat us up. Mm-hmm. Because when I say silently, I mean silently, and silence is deadly. So I try to involve all the things that ate me up in my TikTok. I try as much as I can to also connect with my audience when they reach out. Mm-hmm. I really do try my best. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's what they're getting out. And I've also tried to center my TikTok onto what they want. At first it was, I'm going to do this. I am going to go on TikTok and I'm going to tell you guys. But now it's more sentimental. Now it's more intimate. What do you guys want me to talk about? What do you mean when you ask me this question? You mean you don't know about you? It was you. Let me tell you about what that means and how I've gotten here. I mean, recently I spoke about, I know that young people don't like going to clinics and everything. And so I was encouraging them, if you become undetectable, you might become a part of the CCMDD program. Mm-hmm. And then you don't have to go to the clinic to fetch your treatment all the time. So come on, you have something to look forward to now.
Could you share with me some of the feedback you received when you disclosed on TikTok?
There was a mix of both, good and bad. The bad you learn from, you use it for your advocacy. The good is heartwarming, it makes you do it more. Some of the good feedback was like, oh, thank you for doing this, you're healing the nation, and yeah. And some of the bad were things like, oh, it's girls in South Africa obviously have HIV, or you're too pretty to have HIV, or you don't look like you have HIV. And when someone says you are too pretty to have HIV, believe it or not, it's kind of, it's cute. But then you think about it and the depth of it. What do you mean? Mm-hmm. If I was not pretty, what would this mean for me? Mm-hmm. And so then I started challenging that. That is just another layer of stigma. We do not need stigmatization to continue. And so we need to start being stubborn about the things that even make us blush. We need to say, no, that is stigmatization. You are carrying on the stigma. You're actually now creating a new generation of stigmatization. Mm-hmm. Now that we're over with HIV, people living with HIV need to look a certain way. Now we're saying this. And no, it's not comforting, because to the next person who is devastated or so depressed and still feels like they're ugly or they're not, worth it or pretty enough or whatever, to them that takes them out. So we need to alter those things and release people from the burden that they need to say something profound when they found out that we're living with HIV. You don't have to say anything. The moment you start feeling the pressure of saying something, you can say something wrong. So you don't have to say anything, And so that's just the way that I dealt with some of the comments. I would tell people that, this does not feel right now, and though I may not have the right response, but wait for me. I'm just giving it time, and one day I'll come and I'll steer this into the right conversation. So how about you, Eva? What are the programs that UNA is doing in South Africa?
Well, it's an exciting time to be working in this space. We're very privileged to be working for UNAIDS. And we're doing some really exciting stuff. You know, South Africa, the HIV response is great. There's still quite a few challenges, but we're working on those in collaboration with people like yourself, you know, and of course the government and politicians from across the country. We're working on, we're really making sure that it stays on the agenda. There's so many other developmental challenges that the country is going through. So we're trying to make sure that the political commitment is there. South Africa continues to fund its HIV response, and it's doing really well in that regard. We're working hard on generating the evidence that will drive programs, so we know who we're leaving behind and who we're reaching. But we're also working very closely with communities. You know, we're making sure that communities are leading. We're making sure that they're engaged in discussions around services, the quality of prevention services, of treatment services. We're making sure that their voices, working with them to make sure that their voices remain heard. So lots of exciting stuff going on.
So excited.
Yes. So in September, Nomonde, you'll be attending the United Nations Summit of the Future and the UNAIDS high-level meeting during the UN General Assembly in New York. So the UN is describing it as a once-in-a-generation moment, right? So I'd love to hear, what are your expectations ahead of these events? And what is the message that you will be hoping that leaders will take away from you?
Yeah. The summit is all about collective collaboration between nations. We will be discussing current global issues and future global issues. So far, we've seen great progress in the HIV and AIDS arena. And then this is all thanks to all the actors, the pharmaceutical companies, the scientists, the young people, everyone involved in this. My expectations, well, these high-level events it's a meaningful opportunity for me. And just yesterday, I was a girl who was heavily impacted by society's magnitude of what HIV and AIDS is. And so I think my expectations are really centered around advocating for issues that are close to my heart, taking up space, advocating for the involvement of young people in these conversations, and to learn more. The message I do hope to leave behind, however, is let young people lead. Because, young people want to lead, young people have these conversations, and young people listen to young people. But young people are leaders, they're innovators, they're creators. We're just amazing. And we want to take up space. We want to be part of the epidemic response. We want to do all these things. And in order for all of us to reach our 2030 goal, we must involve young people so that we can be driven with collective influence towards the goal. And another thing, just to further advocate for the access when it comes to the new prevention technologies. I mean, there's Kabale now, there's Elana Kapova. We want those things. Young people need those technologies in South Africa. There's barriers. There's a lot of things that contribute to the HIV epidemic increasing or the HIV rates increasing. And the existence and the accessibility of CAP-LA specifically and LEN will do a lot for the epidemic response. So pharmaceutical leaders must just make this available to us. They must make it accessible for us so that we can really drive change. Yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you, Nomonde. Thank you so much.